Hi everyone. In continuation of our online learning, today I'm going to talk about one more respiratory pathogen. Just here you can see a funny photograph sharing the ice cream by the child and also a pet dog. I think you can get an idea now the sharing of the things with the pet animals. You might be sharing some other things also. So, what is the organism or the pathogen responsible for a childhood disease due to the contact with the pet animals you are going to learn today? And the see, if you see these photographs, if any baby is coughing out or suffering with severe cough, we have to rule out whether it is just a cough or is it pertussis, otherwise called whooping cough. And with this, the most important topic to be learned is the genus Bordetella and the members of the Bordetella which are responsible for respiratory childhood disease. The learning objectives are one is a causative agent and virulence factors and pathogenic mechanism of the pathogenic organisms, clinical manifestations and complications produced by the members of this genus Bordetella, laboratory diagnosis, vaccination available, and preparedness to face the epidemics in case of large number of cases seen in the community. And the genus Bordetella, the distinguishing features of this genus are their gram-negative cucobacilli, obligate aerobes, non-fermentative and highly fastidious organisms. And these are all oxidase positive and catalase positive. And the right side, you can see the photograph, which are gram negative pink colored bacilli, which are cucobacilli, very difficult to see their morphology. And the upper photograph is the people who actually invented this bacterium. Those are Bordet and Gengo. And the genus Bordetella consists of varieties of pathogens. One is Bordetella pertussis, which is most important pathogen producing human disease or childhood disease. And Bordetella parapertussis, in 5% of the cases, it may cause for the pertussis or whooping cough. Next one is Bordetella parapertussis, which colonizes the sheep and from the sheep through the contamination or the contact with the sheep, people may suffer with the pertussis disease. Next one is Bordetella brachiseptica, also responsible for pertussis in 0.1% of the cases, but usually it causes for the kennel cough and atrophic rhinitis, pneumonia among the dogs and pigs respectively. So kennel cough is very common among the dogs and also the atrophic rhinitis, but pneumonia is very commonly seen among the pigs. Virulence factors, the first one is the filamentous hemagglutinin, which facilitates the adhesion of bacilli to ciliated columnar epithelium of the respiratory tract, and thereby it promotes a secondary infection which is known as piracy of adhesions phenomenon. That means followed by the addition of this filamentous hemagglutinin to the columnar epithelium of the respiratory tract, it causes for the necrosis of the epithelium, and once the epithelial damage occurs, the secondary bacterial infection also occurs, which enhances the severity of the disease. This is known as piracy of adhesion. Number two is the fimbriae, which are present on the bacteria, which promotes the bacterial adhesion to the ciliated columnar epithelium of the respiratory tract. The lipopolysaccharide is as a part of the bacterial cell wall. This lipopolysaccharide is again responsible for the inflammatory process by activating the alternative pathway of complement, and it also releases the varieties of cytokines, and these cytokines are responsible for the inflammatory process. And the next most important thing is pertussis toxin, which by mechanism of action resembles the cholera toxin, which is protein in nature and it can be toxoided, and the antibody which is produced against this bacteria is protective in nature. The increased concentration of cyclic AMP results in increased secretions of the respiratory mucosa. This pertussis toxin is responsible for the increased concentration of cyclic AMP, and many host cell functions also get disturbed with this pertussis toxin, which is known as host cell translation. The neutrophil activity will get disturbed, and the monocyte migration to the site of inflammation will be increased, and there would be increased sensitivity to the histamine. That means the cells will get sensitized with the histamine, even with the low levels of histamine, and shows the allergic manifestations. And the increased islet cell activation with this Butler toxin results in hypoglycemia, that decreased blood sugar levels in the blood also possible. And next one is adenylate cyclase toxin, which activates the cyclic AMP and thereby inactivates the several host immune cells. Next one is the paratactin, and this paratactin is nothing but outer membrane protein of this particular bacterium, which overcome the host cell defense mechanisms, and the antibody produced against this paratactin is also protective in nature. Next one is tracheal cytotoxin, and this is responsible for the killing of ciliated respiratory cells, also stimulates the release of cytokine, that is interleukin 1, and it's responsible for fever. And ciliary dysfunction and damage is possible, and also this tracheal cytotoxin is responsible or interferes with the DNA synthesis, and thereby preventing the degeneration of the damaged cells. And pathogenesis, the source for this infection is the droplets which are released from the patients, and commonly the adults and the adolescents also acts as reservoirs. So these droplets gets inhaled by the normal people, and the contaminated fomites also can transmit the infection. On right side you can see the animals which are harboring this bacilli can transmit the bacteria to the children, and that what finally I have showed that they share everything including Bordetella. Also the children who is playing with the toys, and if the toys are gets infected with a person or baby who is having the disease, and if these contaminated fomites or toys, if they used by the other child, there is a possibility for the transmission of this bacterium. The incubation period is around 1 to 2 weeks. After that you can see the clinical manifestations. And here you can see the schematic representation of the pathogenesis. The first one, the microscopic droplets which are carrying the Bordetella pertussis are inhaled by the normal person. And in the number 2 diagram, you can see the bacteria hooked to the or attached to the cells lining the throat to the ciliated columnar epithelium, and this by producing the toxin and also with the presence of other structures like filamentous seam of glutenin and other things, the ciliated columnar epithelium gets damaged. The bacteria get multiplied and migrate towards the ciliated cells of the lungs, and from there the bacteria by means of multiplication releases the large quantities of toxin. That toxin paralyzes the ciliated columnar epithelium and causes for destruction of those cells, or otherwise called the necrosis of the ciliated columnar epithelium may occur. And the toxin which gets released by the multiplication of bacteria in the lungs and spreads throughout the body. And after that, the clinical manifestations may develop into the form of pneumonia also in severe forms. And the disease pertussis, if you see the clinical manifestations, the pertussis is an acute, highly contagious pediatric disease which commonly infects the less than 5 years old children. But if you see the incidence of these cases, nowadays even older children and adults also suffering with the same disease. And the pertussis will be seen in three stages. The first one is the catarrhal stage, which is a highly infective stage also, because during this stage the bacteria gets released into the environment through the copious respiratory secretions. Now the people will suffer with low grade fever, a running nose, nasal congestion, sneezing, just like a picture resembles like a common cold. And the people may suffer with a dry irritating cough which lasts for several weeks. And in paroxysmal phase, it's also known as whooping cough, otherwise known as a paroxysm. In this stage, the people will suffer with intense cough which occurs in bouts, followed by a high pitched inspiratory sound like whoop through swollen glottis. That means when the people are suffering with severe coughing, going on coughing, the entire the reserves of the air in the lungs may get exhausted. Then, at the end of the cough bout, the people will take air inside the lungs, which provides a typical inspiratory sound, that is whoop. While going through the swollen glottis, it gives the typical sound. And the more mucus secretions are seen in this stage, and duration of the disease in this stage is 1 to 6 weeks. In the right side, the upper photograph, you can see at the time of paroxysm how the intercostal muscles will be when will be indrawn into the chest, and also you can see the intense bout of cough where you can see the contraction of the muscles, and which indicates the effort of the baby shown to withdraw this whooping cough or paroxysm, or otherwise called the bout of cough. And during an attack, the patient becomes cyanotic because of continuous coughing, and due to the lack of oxygen, children and young infants appear especially ill and distressed. And on the right side, you can see because of the intense bouts of cough, you can see the conjunctival hemorrhages and also the cyanotic patches on the face. Below the eyes, you can see the black cyanotic patches. And the third stage is the convalescent stage, where the people will recover from the disease. And here also, people will suffer with the chronic cough with less paroxysms. The less bouts of cough will be there, but the cough, you can see the dry cough chronically in this stage also. This stage lasts for about 3 to 4 weeks, after an acute illness. And disease may be complicated as subconjunctival and cerebral hemorrhages because of intense coughing bouts, and people may suffer the bronchopneumonia due to the secondary bacterial infection, and there is a possibility for lung collapse also due to pneumonia. And due to the brain damage because of intense bouts of cough, the anoxic encephalopathy may be seen, sometimes associated with convulsions also. Due to the brain damage, the developmental retardation is also another possibility as a complication of pertussis during the childhood. And the epidemiological aspect is most infectious disease, which is airborne, and also the contact borne bacterial disease. And there is no any chronic carrier state for this particular bacterial infection. Worldwide, the 51 million cases have been estimated. Among them, zero point 0.6 million deaths are occurring every year. It's a prominent disease among infants and children. Of course, the adults also may be suffering. And according to the CDC, 48,000 cases were identified in 2012 and 24,000 cases in 2013. And during the 2012 epidemic in Washington, the many number of cases were seen in Montana and Alaska also. In India, decreased incidence of these cases have been identified due to the increased immunization. The effective immunization against this disease showing the decreased number of cases in India. Adolescents and adults manifest as bronchitis and acts as a source for this particular infection. This indicates the need for the adult vaccinations for the pertussis disease. And the lab diagnosis for this pertussis, number one is the demonstration of antigen, and for this we have to collect the nasopharyngeal secretions or nasopharyngeal swab by using the calcium alginate or a Dacron swab. The cotton swab is not that much useful, and the nasopharyngeal secretion, for the nasopharyngeal secretions we have to prefer the calcium alginate and Dacron swab. And swabs from the throat and anterior nares and also the sputum is not acceptable samples for the demonstration of antigen uh, or for the diagnosis. And if you do the gram stain, then you can see the gram negative coccobacilli, which I already shown in the beginning of this topic. And direct immunofluorescent antibody staining also can be done. Here, the antibodies against this bacilli will be tagged with the fluorescent dye, and the once you prepare the smear from the nasopharyngeal secretions, and you have to allow it to react with this immunofluorescent dye, which is tagged with the antibody, and you can see the glowing bodies under the fluorescent microscope. But the problem with this method is false positive rates. Staphylococci, is Haemophilus, and Moraxella species also will give positive results for the direct immunofluorescent antibody staining. That's the reason why we have to go for the culture, and to do culture we have to go for fresh sample in early stage of the disease. Always you have to use the transport medium, this Stewart's transport medium. But as far as the isolation levels is concerned, better to avoid the transport medium. But if there is time lapse between the culture and from the culture and the sample collection, the time of sample collection, it's better to use the transport medium. That would be Stewart's medium. And other sampling methods are the cough plate method and West postnasal swab, where you have to collect the swab from the posterior pharyngeal wall, and the paranasal swab also can be collected. So here this is a cough plate method. Nowadays people are not practicing this, But a couplet method is you have to hold the required culture medium plate just 10 to 15 centimeters nearer to the mouth, and then we have to ask the person to cough into the plate. So while the person is coughing out, the droplets released from the respiratory secretions gets deposited on that culture medium, and on incubation you can see the colonies related to this particular bacterium. This couplet method, once upon a time it was more sensitive. People who used to believe that it's more sensitive, but now the people are not using this particular kind of couplet method. And after the nasopharyngeal swabs, the other methods like post-nasal swab and paranasal swab also can be collected. And the culture, as I mentioned already, to do the culture, the best medium is Regon Lowy or Borided King Glycerin Potato Blood Agar medium, where we have to use 15 to 20% blood in this medium. The growth will be seen in slow manner, that will take around 3 to 5 days. The colonies will appear as small, smooth, dome shape and opaque colonies, and they appear like viscid, grayish white and refractile colonies, which looks like bisected pearls or mercury drop like thing. Below that you can see the photograph of the growth, where you can see the grayish white and refractile colonies which resembles like a mercury drop, the glistening like a mercury drop. And since they are fastidious organisms, you can't see any growth on nutrient agars, and also differential medium like Mechanchis agar. Even there's a gram negative bacterium, it can't grow on the Mechanchis agar or nutrient agar. So it requires it's a fastidious organism, requires an enriched or selective medium. And serological tests, the serum useful for the retrospective diagnosis of the condition, and agglutination test, agglutination test will be done by using the latex agglutination test, or ELISA method also available to detect the antibodies against this bacterium. But in case of antibody detection, you have to go for the raised titers. That means you have to take the first sample, and after 5 to 7 days the second sample also has to be collected. Based on the increased antibody levels, you have to confirm that the diagnosis. In early stage of the disease or an acute infection, you can demonstrate the IgE antibodies in large quantities, and in later stage of the disease or during the convalescence, you can demonstrate the IgG antibodies. Of course, the IgG antibodies are seen followed by the vaccination also. And PCR testing is quite sensitive. That's polymerase chain reaction testing is quite sensitive, but beware of cross reaction with Bordetella helmsii. That means the Bordetella helmsii gives false positive reaction. And if you would like to do the PCR testing, don't use the calcium alginate swabs, which are not acceptable, but you have to collect the samples by using nylon swabs. So the nylon swabs are preferable to collect the swab for sending to do the PCR testing to detect this Bordetella pertussis. And complete blood counts shows the elevated WBC count with the relative lymphocytosis. And on the right side you can see the many number of lymphocytes, especially apart from the other WBCs like neutrophils and RBCs, and you can see the single nucleated cells, the big cells. You can see there are many number of lymphocytes you can observe. So the elevated WBC count with the relative lymphocytosis is seen. And the vaccination and prevention, the specific immunization is available, and the killed vaccine is available, which is prepared from smooth phase 1 strain. And these bacteria, after culture, we have to kill them by using 0.2% merthiolate. So this killed vaccine can be used, and this vaccine will be prepared in the form of whole cell vaccine. And the problem with this vaccine is vaccine induced encephalopathy, and also lack of long lasting immunity. That means it won't, the skilled vaccine won't offer the immunity for longer periods. The next vaccine is a acellular vaccine, which can be given for less than 7 years age group. The protective components in this vaccine are pertussis toxin and filamentous hemagglutinin and paratactin. All these components of this bacteria are present in this acellular vaccine in spite of the old bacterium. And these vaccines available as plain vaccines are alum absorbed um, pertussis vaccine, and triple vaccine also available in the form of DPT, that is which consists of diphtheria toxoid, um, pertussis, and also tetanus toxoid. And nowadays this DPT is available in the form of DTAP, that means diphtheria toxoid, tetanus toxoid, and acellular pertussis vaccine. And the doses for the children, 3 doses have to be given at the age of second, third, and fourth months. That means in between each dose, 1 month gap has to be there, and booster dose should be given at the end of first year. And this complete immunization schedule will give 90% protection for the children. And we have to give the vaccine for the pregnant women also. The intention behind this is to protect the newborns from the mother if the mother is carrying, or if the mother is suffering with the low levels of this particular disease in the form of bronchitis. And chemoprophylaxis can be done with by giving erythromycin. And the problems with this pertussis vaccine, that means while you are giving the vaccine, what are the side effects you can consider are: one is local soreness at the site of injection. People may suffer with kind of pain and heat sensation. Next one is fever. People may suffer with convulsions and also the encephalopathy. And if you give this vaccine at the time of polio, it can provocate the poliomyelitis. At the time of polio season, it's better not to give this particular vaccine to the children or even to adults. And the treatment for acute case, erythromycin 1.5 grams has to be given for 2 weeks, that is 14 days. Or you can prefer clarithromycin or azithromycin, and we can prefer the cough suppressants to reduce the bouts of cough. And the corticosteroids also to be considered, but has to be given with caution because they can reduce the inflammatory process, and thereby the resistance power of the host immune system against the bacteria also gets decreased. And the pertussis immunoglobulins can be given at the time of acute stage of the disease, uh, but studies are telling that they are having limited success rates. And during the epidemics, immunization is not 100% effective. And at the time of epidemics, or when you predicting the epidemic with this pertussis or Bordetella pertussis, give a booster dose for the healthcare providers as well as to adolescents. So these people, because of long duration of vaccination or vaccination during the so many years back, may result in the disease manifestations among the healthcare providers and adolescent people. So during the epidemics, we have to give a dose of acellular pertussis vaccine to the healthcare personnel and also to the adults and also the adolescents and adults. Next one is non-immunized children who are less than 7 years should be excused from the school for 14 days. So if the vaccination schedule well known, then it's fine. Or if the vaccination schedule is not known regarding that particular child, better to avoid to the school for about 14 days. And health warning announcements to be given to the public at the time of epidemics. And all the pets have to be taken care of. The pets also has to be vaccinated, especially the parapertussis can harbor in the pet animals like dogs. So better to give the vaccine for the pet animals also to avoid this disease. Uh, to summarize, pertussis is an acute pediatric disease, respiratory disease. Of course, it affects the adolescents and adults also, and it's highly communicable disease. It can easily spread through the respiratory droplets from one person to other person, and causative agent grows on special medium only because it's a highly fastidious organism. It can't grow on the routine medium like nutrient agar or the Macankis agar. And the disease associated with severe complications, as I mentioned already, in the form of conjunctival hemorrhages, subconjunctival hemorrhages, and also the encephalopathy, also the convulsions. Next one is a preventable disease with the effective vaccination. So please don't ignore the complete vaccination to the children. Pet dogs can transmit the disease, and drug of choice is erythromycin. Cotrimoxazole can be given in case of macrolide resistance. So again, this is a very funny concluding slide. Just the baby is asking the people who are trying to handle them, that's are you not vaccinated? Then no kisses. That means adult person, any person who would like to handle them, their request or plea is if you are not vaccinated, don't kiss me. That's what he is appeal to all of us. That means all of us has to be vaccinated, not only to protect ourselves but also to protect the children by not transmitting these microorganisms from our respiratory tract to the children. Thank you very much. Happy learning.